Hello housemates! Welcome to Fujifilm Academy Online's One Life Portraits at Home session. Thank you very much for letting me into your homes today. Alam ko yung iba sa inyo naligo pa, di ba? Okay lang yan, ako nga nagbabango pa eh. So, let me introduce myself guys. I am Jerico Montemayor. And no, hindi po ako yan nasa picture, si James Reed po yan. Although we are using the same camera, which is the Fujifilm X-T series camera. Ito po ako. So, I graduated from the University of Santo Tomas with a degree in philosophy. I am also the president of 12 Stones Advertising. I am also the creative director and senior photographer for Utmost Creative. And I contribute to several publications such as FHM, Uno, Brand Magazine, View Magazine, Popsicle, Nuyu, AO Manila, and Manila Bulletin. I also shoot for ABS-CBN, TV5, as well as Viva Entertainment. And I head ad campaigns of Globe, Fujifilm Philippines, San Miguel, Nu Skin, GB, Uniqlo, Unisilver Time, Fun 88, Stoke, BKK, Okimura, and a lot more. Now, sabi ko nga, ganun din sana yung itsura natin, kagaya kay James Reed, medyo nabangkada lang po tayo, so eto. Well, here are some samples of my work. Ayan po. And there. So, gusto ko din ipakilala sa inyo yung aking mapalad na asawa. Ayan po siya. Yung galit doon sa likod. Ito po talaga yung asawa pa. Si Rina Montemayor. So, she's a professional makeup artist. So, lagi ko siyang katandem on most of my shoots. Now guys, before we begin with the proper or the didactics of this session, I would like to refresh your memories first about photography with its definition as well as analogy. Okay, so ano nga ba itong photography? So, as photographers, we are painters of light or artists of light. And for this session, we are going to talk about light. Sabi ko nga, so it's very important that you know this analogy. So, the camera is equivalent to your canvas, okay? And your light source is your brush. And then yung light is equivalent to your paint. Okay? So yun po ang ating analogy. And of course, the definition of a photo is it's a two-dimensional experience in a three-dimensional reality. So yun po ang ating working definition of photography. Now, ano ba yung topic or topics na i-cover natin for this talk? So we are going to discuss one light, and the topics are as follows. Law of light, and then the second one is the 5 basic lighting setup. Now guys, don't be confused when I say 5 basic lighting setup. It doesn't mean that we are going to use 5 lights. What I only mean to say is we are using one light with 5 different placements for an effective portraits. Okay? So let's begin with this assumptions muna guys. Kailangan muna natin na i-discuss. So okay, I'll be assuming 3 things from for this talk. Number 1 is that you have a digital camera with manual settings. Number 2 is that you have a photography light source. It can be your studio strobe, it can be a flash gun, or your LED light. Okay? Now, the third one is of course knowledge of manual setting ng camera ninyo, or the knowledge of the exposure triangle, kung paano nyo titimplahin yun. Okay? So those are the 3 things that I assume that you already have with you to make an effective use of what we are going to learn today. Okay? So let's start with the law of light. Okay? So ano nga ba yung law of light na to? So you have there your reflection, Snell's law, refraction, optics, Lambert's cosine law, wave, dispersion, and no, we are not going to discuss these things, okay? Actually ako, spelling lang ang alam ko sa kanila. What we are going to talk about here is something that is very important or vital for photographers. So ito yung tinatawag nating inverse square law. So I'm not sure if you've already heard about this terminology or na-master mo na siya. So basically we're going to talk about it. It's a very technical thing or a very technical law, but my goal here is to simplify it for you guys. I-break down natin kung ano siya, and then ibibigay ko din sa inyo kung ano yung practical use nitong inverse square law na to. So bear with me guys, okay? Let's start with this. Now, ano nga ba yung inverse square law? So by definition, or photography definition, it means that the fall off of light falls off faster if the light is closer to the subject. Medyo parang tongue twister siya, no? Again, the fall off of light falls off quicker if the light is closer to the subject. Medyo, okay, technical term siya. Now, let's move on to the what do you call this? The equation for this one. Guys, I'll be simplifying this to you later on. So, ano nga ba tong inverse square law? It means that the power of light is equivalent to 1, okay, divided by distance times distance. Or, the power of light is equivalent to this 1 over distance squared. Okay, kaya nga tayo nag-photography, mahina sa math, ano? Okay, let me explain it further. So for this one, we have a light source. Kung paki-check guys yung diagram natin. So we have light source, and doon sa taas nitong graph na to, okay? So you have there the power of light or the intensity of light. Now doon sa baba niya, ito naman yung distance ng subject natin doon sa light. Let's assume guys na yung light natin dito is at point 0. Okay? Now, si model natin, okay, for the sake of this example, let's use feet as our unit of measurement, okay? It doesn't really matter if you want to use meters or kung ano man. Okay, but for the sake of this discussion, let's use feet. So si model, pinlace natin siya 1 foot away from the light. Now, let's assume that 100% of the power of light is tumatama kay model. So at 1 foot away, the model is getting 100% of the light. Okay? Now, if we move our model 2 feet away from the light, most of us would assume that 50%, okay, 50% ang mawawala na power ng light na tumatama kay model. Tama ba? But actually, no. It's greater than that. Ang tumatama na lang kay model natin ngayon na power ng light is only 25%. So basically, you've lost 75% of the power of light with that distance. So nakita ninyo yung laki ng loss of power. Okay, so from 1 foot away to 2 feet away, 75% agad yung nawala. Nagigets natin? Now, ano nga ba yung ibig sabihin nito? So, paano mo kino-compute ngayon yun? Paano ka nakaka-come up, Jericho, na naging 1/4 of the light na lang instead of 1/2? So again, we go back to the equation. So, nilagay natin si model 2 feet away, tama? So, 2 squared is equivalent to 4, tama? Now, yung 4, ano ba yung inverse proportion niya? So, it's 1/4. So, basically, you're just getting 1/4 of the power. So, it means that you've already lost 2 stops of the power ng light. Now, again, guys, it goes on for 3 feet away, 4 hanggang 8. Okay? So, what I mean to say is, sa 3 feet away, okay, you are now going to compute again. So 3 squared is equivalent to 9. And inverse proportion ng 9 is 1/9. So 1/9 of the power na lang ang ma-receive niya 3 feet away from the light. And it goes on and on and on. Okay, now, take note of this, guys. From 1 feet away or 1 foot away, going to 2 feet away, sobrang laki nung nawalang power. But if you'll notice, as we go on further away from the light, medyo gradual na, hindi na ganun kalaki yung nababawas nating ilaw sa kanya. What I mean to say, guys, is that kanina, sabi ko nga sa inyo, the fall off of light falls off quicker if the light is closer to the subject. So since malapit si model doon sa ating ilaw, at nilayo natin siya ng konti, kahit konti yan, sobrang laki ng nawalang power. But since malayo na siya, pagka nilagay natin siya sa 5 feet away, at nilayo pa natin siya sa 6, hindi na ganong kalaki yung nawawalang ilaw sa kanya. Okay, kasi malayo na siya doon sa light eh. Now, kung magulo pa din, okay, let me simplify it further. Okay, guys, paki-review na lang yung graph. You may take a screenshot of it if you want. So, baka later on gusto nyong aralin, at least may makikita kayong visual aid for you. Now, what I mean to say here is, ano ba yung practical use nitong inverse square law, Jerico? Bakit kailangan namin malaman to? Okay, when you were young, nasubukan nyo malamang na maglaro ng tawag dito, flashlight, di ba? Yung tinatapat natin sa wall. Okay, now, when you place your flashlight sa wall, makikita ninyo meron tayong naiilawang area pero maliit dahil malapit. Now, if you can actually check out the video dito, pansinin niyo yung ilaw doon sa wall, yung intensity niya malakas, di ba? Dahil malapit. But then the coverage is small. Tama? Now, pag nilalayo natin yung ilaw, what happens is humihina yung ilaw na tumatama dun sa wall. But then, notice na lumalaki yung scope ng ilaw. Okay? So, yun yung inverse square law at play. Ano yung practical application nito ngayon sa photo? Ang mangyayari niyan, let's say for example, meron kang modelo, di ba? Or subject. And you want to illuminate the face alone kasi gusto mong i-highlight yung mukha niya. You don't really care about the lower body or the background. Gusto mo lang ma-illuminate yung mukha. So what do you do with it? Lalapitan mo ngayon yung ilaw mo doon sa modelo mo. Okay? So that the scope will be narrow. Now the thing is, pag malapit, baka masyadong malakas yung ilaw mo. So what do you do with it? Hihinaan mo. And then of course, adjust it accordingly doon sa adjust your camera settings accordingly doon sa setup or doon sa intensity ng light mo. Now, Jerico, gusto ko ngayon kuhanan pati yung buong katawan or pati yung background. So what do you do with it? Ilalayo mo ngayon yung ilaw sa kanya. Okay, why? The coverage will be bigger. The thing is, hihina ngayon yung ilaw. So what do you do with it? Lalakasan mo lang siya. Okay? So ganun yung inverse square law in photography at play. Now, saan mo siya magagamit? Sabi ko nga kanina, ayan, sa modelo. Let's say for example, 3 yung models mo. Now, pag malapit yung ilaw mo sa 3 model, malamang isa lang doon ang well illuminated, yung nasa gitna. Tama? Or kung saan mo tinutok yung ilaw. The other 2 will be suffering. So medyo underexposed sila. Now what you do is lalayuan mo yung ilaw so that you'll cover a bigger space. So madadamay na yung dalawang model doon sa side. And then of course, hihina yung ilaw. So what do you do? Adjust mo ngayon yung power niya so that you'll have a bigger coverage and at the same time enough power to produce good exposure doon sa 3 modelo mo. So that's the use of inverse square law. Even if single model sa bahay, if you're going to try this at home, guys, you would like to illuminate the model as well as the whole room. Okay? Now, kung ganun ang gusto mo, anong gagawin natin? Again, inverse square law. Ilalayo natin yung ilaw ngayon doon sa model and doon sa panel para lumaki yung coverage. So pwedeng matamaan na yung wall, matamaan yung kisame and floor. Kung ganun ka-wide yung gusto mong shot. Okay? So covered na silang lahat kasi nilayo mo yung ilaw mo. The thing is, again, yung power. Okay? So kung naka-max out ka na sa power ng light mo, adjust accordingly sa settings ng camera mo. Kung saan kakayanin. Okay? Adjust mo sa pinakamababang aperture and then compensate. You can, okay, so for the settings, you can use the lowest aperture, kung ganon, kung limited lang yung ilaw natin, ano. So lowest aperture possible doon sa lens mo, either 2.8 or 3.5 or 5.6, hindi ko alam ha. And then for your ISO, you can actually set it last na lang siguro pang-compensate. So for the shutter speed, you can use probably about 1/80 kung hindi ka naman masyadong nanginginig, or 1/125. Okay? So for the ISO, adjust accordingly na lang kung madilim pa din yung settings na binigay kong nauna. Okay guys, so let's move on to the light placement. I hope na clear sa inyo yung inverse square law. If medyo nalilito pa din kayo guys, rewind this video na lang, or you can also ask some questions dito sa comment section nitong video na to sa baba. With that, let's move on to the light placement. So 5 basic light setup. Let's start with this one. So ano ba yung una? We're going to talk about the butterfly or the paramount lighting. Okay, so butterfly or paramount, it's basically the same. Here's a sample of a picture that I took. O, di ba? Ang model natin, Marilyn Monroe pa. Fresh from Hollywood. Okay. If you'll notice, take a look at the shadow that's created underneath the nose of Marilyn. Okay? Kung mapapansin niyo, may shadow na na-form sa ilalim ng ilong. For real humans, guys, it will be somewhat a butterfly form na shadow. Okay, so kaya siya tinawag na butterfly lighting. So paramount kasi nga, nandito siya. Now, the placement of this light is roughly 20 to 30% higher than the model. So doon mo ilalagay yung ilaw mo. Now, I don't mean na kapag 5.7 yung model mo, you have to compute 20% or 30% of that. Kasi pwedeng nakaupo yung modelo mo. So, what you're going to compute is the height, okay, based on the pose of your model. So kung nakaupo siya, natural, yun ang gagamitin mo or pagbabasihan mo ng 20% or 30% higher. Okay? Doon mo ipe-place yung ilaw until such time that maka-form ka ng butterfly-like shadow doon sa ilalim ng ilong niya. Now, the next one is, or actually, ano nga ba yung use nitong butterfly or paramount setup na to? The use is actually for beauty shots, as well as your typical ID passport pictures. So kung gusto mong gumawa ng 1x1 sa bahay, yan ang pwede mong gawin. Clear on that? Now, moving on. So the next one is loop lighting. So ano ba yung tinatawag nating loop lighting? Now, loop lighting is ganito. So again, focus on the nose or the shadow that's created doon sa nose ng ating model. Kung mapapansin ninyo, meron siyang loop-like. Okay? Loop-like shadow formed doon sa side ng nose. Now, ano yung placement ng ilaw mo yan? Kung nandito yung shadow, ibig sabihin yung ilaw mo nandito. Okay? So, i-place mo siya up until such position na magkakaroon ng shadow na cast yung ilong dito, which is loop-like. Okay? Now, next is Rembrandt lighting. So, ano ba yung Rembrandt lighting? Sino ba si Rembrandt? Si Rembrandt is actually a painter. Okay? Now, yung light niya is somewhat a signature kind of lighting for his portrait. So, this is self-portrait of Rembrandt. Kung mapapansin niyo yung portrait niya, tingnan niyo yung side ng cheek niya sa kabila, dito sa may right-hand side natin. Meron siyang na-form na inverted triangle na ilaw. Tama? So kapag na-form mo yung inverted triangle na yan sa side ng face ng iyong subject, you're already using the Rembrandt lighting. Okay? So here's an example ng shoot natin. Excuse me. Notice guys again, ayun, yung inverted triangle doon sa kabilang pisngi. Now basically, ano yung paano nag-form yan? It's the cast or the shadow casted by the nose na dumidikit siya doon sa shadow na nabubuo natin dito sa side ng face. Now again, ang placement ng ilaw mo yan nasa side at medyo mataas, 20-30% higher than the model. Tapos, pag didikitin mo yung shadow na nabubuo ng ilong doon sa shadow na nandito na hindi tinatamaan ng ilaw. So once you've created that inverted triangle, it's already Rembrandt lighting. So that's your third lighting setup. Now for the next one, we have split lighting. So ano ba yung split lighting na yan? Okay, obviously from the name, you're just splitting, okay, yung light and shade. So here's a sample of a shot. Notice guys, half of the face is well illuminated and the other part falls into the shade or the shadows. Okay? So kaya siya tinawag na split lighting. You're splitting the face of the model into light and shade. So saan yan ginagamit? Yeah, contrast itong kind of lighting na to. So usually ginagamit yan pagka pa-mysterious effect, gano'n. Minsan ginagamit din yan sa UFC, I think NBA or sports or manly kind of portraits. So dun yan madalas ginagamit. Okay? Next. So this is a two-part lighting, yung pang-lima natin. So pwede mo siyang ilagay na 5 and 6. So you have your long lighting and short lighting. Now ano ba yung long lighting or short lighting na to? So let's start with the short one. Okay? So sa short, mapapansin niyo yung model natin. Take a look at the red encircled part. So kung mapapansin mo, short lang yung coverage ng ilaw doon sa mukha ng model. And large part of the face falls into the shadow part. Okay? Kasi nasa camera angle yan. So kinuhanan mo siya na yung ilaw niya, kung ito yung camera mo, medyo nandito yung ilaw at medyo nakatagilid siya sa'yo. So basically, long yung nako-cover ng shadow and short lang yung coverage ng light based on your camera perspective. Okay? Which is the opposite of the next one. So sa long naman, pag lumipat ka dito sa side na to, yung camera mo, nilipat mo dito sa side na to, okay? Long yung coverage ng light and then short lang yung nagpo-fall doon sa shadow area or doon sa shaded part natin. So ito po yung picture. So notice yung red is encircled na coverage ng light and then the blue one encircles the area of the part wherein short lang yung fall into the shadows. Okay, now on my next slides I will be showing you guys some portraits that can be done at home like we promised. In fact, most of the shots that I'll be showing you are taken inside my house. Again, I just use a digital camera and a light source. I use one studio strobe or one flash gun for most of these shots, which are remotely triggered. So meron kayong, hopefully meron kayong trigger and receiver for your lights. Although I also have a sample here wherein the flash is mounted doon sa camera. But it's a bit technical, pero i-discuss ko din sa inyo yan mamaya. Okay, let's start with this first portrait. So this is actually a shot for FHM. This was shot in a studio, although you can do this at home if you have a plain white wall. Ang setup natin dyan, or here's the diagram of the lighting setup. Okay? So si model natin nakadikit doon sa wall. I placed a light. Medyo nilayuan ko siya. Why? Again, inverse square law. Gusto ko malaki yung coverage ng ilaw ko. So gusto ko na mailawan pati yung wall. Okay? So nilayuan ko yung ilaw, nilakasan ko para proper yung exposure. Now, malayo siya so walang nagiging vignette sa gilid or yung dumidilim na part sa gilid ng camera ninyo, ay ng shots ninyo. And then the angle of or the perspective or the point of view nung camera ko is nandito nga sa may side din. Okay? It's also the same for these next examples. So ayan, with Diana Meneses, ganun din. Nakaupo lang siya. But same. Although this time, medyo nilapitan natin yung ilaw. Kung mapapansin ninyo doon sa likod niya, hindi na tinatamaan ng ilaw kasi medyo malapit na sa kanya. So lumiliit yung coverage ng ilaw. Okay? So again, inverse square law at play. And the next one, Ayan, same thing. So this one, mid-range lang yung layo ng ilaw sa kanya. So kung mapapansin nyo, medyo nagkakaroon ng formation of vignette sa gilid, yung mga dark parts doon sa side ng image. So ayan po. So yan, doable at home yan guys. Sobrang doable siya at home with one light and no modifiers. Bare flash lang po ang ginamit natin dyan. Now, here's the sample of the picture na sinasabi ko sa inyo na mounted yung ating flash doon sa camera. So here's the sample. And then here's the diagram for it. Now, bakit ko sinabing technical itong picture na to? Again, when you shoot, at times, if you have a full crew, from stylist to makeup artist to hairstylist, kaya mong i-pull off to in a way na alam kasi ng mga tao or alam ng team mo kung anong dapat gawin. You also have to educate them on how you will light your image. So for this one, sa makeup artist ko, sinabi ko sa kanya flat yung gagawin kong lighting. So alam na niya kung anong dapat gawin. Dapat niyang gawin is medyo harsh yung contours na gagawin niya doon sa face. Why? Kasi yung ilaw ko, since flat siya, mawawash out yung makeup kapag hindi harsh yung contours na ginamit niya. Magiging flat yung mukha ng modelo. Okay? And of course, styling comes into play. Sabi nga nila, minsan, most of the time, ang shoots natin, model dependent. Maganda siya kasi maganda yung model. Diba? Regardless of the lighting that you will use. Like, in this instance, I just use a flat lighting setup. Na para siyang snapshot lang, di ba? Nothing too glamorous about it. It's just that the team had some sort of a coherence in terms of what we'd like to show in an image. Now the next one is ito po. So pinahiga lang namin dito yung modelo natin, okay? And then yung ilaw natin was placed on top of the model. So nakakabit lang siya sa isang boom stand. We didn't have access doon sa bintana doon sa likod ng model, so we just had to resort to mounting the light doon sa top ng model. Okay? So ito po yung diagram natin for that shot. Now next is this one. So most of the shots I've shown you guys, wala tayong modifier na ginamit. We didn't use softbox and other modifiers, okay? For this one, bare light lang din siya, but then we used board to flag light, okay? So pag sinabi mong flagging of light, it means that you're just covering a portion of the light para mag-create siya ng shadow. So for this one, you'll notice that the picture is split into two, so light and shade. Ito ngayon yung diagram natin for this one. Now, we use a board to split this image. Sabi ko nga, now kung mapapansin ninyo, yung mukha ng model medyo doon nakakoncentrate yung ilaw natin. So inverse square law, nilapitan natin yung ilaw doon kay model para maliit lang yung coverage ng light. Okay? Now doon sa bottom part ng model natin, kung mapapansin niyo medyo madilim na, di ba? Because nakafocus nga yung ilaw doon sa mukha. So nilapitan natin yung ilaw, malapit lang din yung board, and then we took the shot. Okay, so nag-create ng shadow ngayon yung board natin. So we flagged it down. Same goes with this next image. Ayan. So but for this one naman, ang ginamit natin dito dalawang boards. Okay? So I'll show you the diagram for this one. Ayan. So kumbaga pinalusot lang natin yung strip of light doon sa dalawang board. We flagged it down, and then makikita ninyo dyan kung saan natin tinake or saan yung vantage point natin for that shot. So yun. So nagkaroon na siya ng strip of light, flag down yung dalawang sides ng wall natin. Okay? You can actually do this at home using your illustration board. Okay? Kaya-kaya yan. Usually, pwede din gamitin nyo yung pinto ninyo kung gusto nyo. Depende sa location ng, or sa structure ng house ninyo. Now, the next one, is basically the same concept, guys. These next few pictures that I'll be showing to you, we also used a cardboard or an illustration board, although for this one, nag-cut out kami ng window shape type doon sa gitna ng cardboard. Okay? So kung mapapansin niyo may mga shadows na nafo-form na tumatama doon sa model. So ang ginagawa namin, ito yung cardboard, may butas sa gitna, doon natin tinatapat or doon natin pinapadaan yung ilaw. So it means na yung board, fina-flag niya yung ibang ilaw at yung inaalaw lang niya na light is projected through that cutout doon sa gitna. So nagkakaroon tayo ng shadow formations. So ito yung mga samples natin. And this one. So ayan, lahat yan illustration board lang, doon lang natin pinapadaan yung ilaw. Here's the diagram for this one. Ayan po siya. So again, doable at home. You just need an illustration board, cutter, and then pwede mo na siyang gawin na ganyan. Now, the previous pictures that I've shown you guys were actually lit inside the house. Tama? So, most of the time, nakatapat yung ilaw sa modelo mo. Now, for these next pictures, nilabas namin yung ilaw sa bahay. Again, these lights are remotely triggered. So this first one, a shot of Rachel Andakis for Popsicle Magazine. What we did was we placed a light sa labas. Kung mapapansin niyo guys, yung bintana na yan, walang ilaw or hindi nakakadaan yung araw dyan because there's another building sa katabi. So nabablock yung view or yung sunlight. So we replicated the light or the sunlight coming from a window. So ang ginawa namin, nilabas namin yung ilaw and then we tawag dito, nakamount din siya sa boom stand and then dun namin sa bintana pinadaan yung ilaw. Now for this kind of shots, tatanungin niyo bakit yung harapan ng model natin is still well illuminated. The room is actually painted in white. So nagbabounce lahat ng ilaw doon. So we don't need to use, we didn't have to use tawag dito, reflector for this kasi white naman na yung mga walls. So nagbabounce na yung ilaw sa kanya. So nagiging filled or may fill light ka ng tinatawag doon sa shot mo. Now the next picture, same setup. We did this shoot for FHM and yeah, I'm actually in the room wherein this shot was taken. This is the room of my son. So yung nakikita niyo picture is yung itong nasa harapan ko lang na bintana. So we took this shot with the light setup na yung ilaw is nasa labas. Okay? And then papasok ng bintana. Now the thing is medyo madilim kasi dito sa room na to kapag walang ilaw or naka-on na ilaw. So what we did was we used a reflector. Okay? So pwede din tanongin bakit hindi na lang yung ilaw sa kisame ang ginamit. The temperature of the light is different. So I think during that time naka-warm yung ilaw dito sa loob. So inconsistent yung palo ng ilaw ngayon na manggagaling doon sa strobe sa labas and the ilaw na manggagaling kapag ka-in-on namin yung ilaw sa kisame. So we just used a reflector para saluhin yung ilaw na ibubuga ng strobe na nandoon sa labas and para maibato back doon sa model natin for the consistent color temperature ng ilaw natin. So ayan po yung kinalabasan and ito yung diagram niya. Now the next shot, basically the same setup. Okay? Pinahiga lang natin yung modelo natin, but same placement of the strobe light outside, same placement of the reflector dito sa may harapan niya. And this is the diagram for that lighting. Clear? So screenshot lang guys kung gusto yung pag-aaralan yun. Now for this last image that I'll be showing you, okay, backstory nito is that nung shoot namin to, the model was ang call time namin was set at around 2 p.m. So medyo hapon na siya. Dumating yung model natin on time, of course, but then kailangan make-upan, kailangan ayusin yung buhok, di ba? So I think nasa 3:30 ganun na yung time nung beyond that pa actually. So about 3:30 pala, 3:30 or 4 p.m. nakita ko yung bed na ganito yung tawag dito, ganito yung ilaw na nakita ko na na-form. So the sun was nandoon sa tapat ng window, and then yung light na kinast niya inside the room is ganito yung palo. Okay? Now, of course, yung model hindi pa ready at that time. I think we already did this at around 6 p.m. Okay? So wala na yung araw ng time na yan. What we did was, nung nakita ko yan ng 3:30, kausap ko si Neil Ramirez, yung lagi kong kasama. Sabi ko, bro, i-mark natin kung nasaan yung araw ngayong time na to. So we had our strobe placed on a light stand. So nilabas namin siya doon sa may veranda. And then what we did was, minatch namin yung height nung stand and nung light doon sa, inalign namin siya from bed, light, and then yung sun. Okay? So naka-align yung sun doon sa light namin, ginaya lang namin yung pwesto niya para kapag replicate na namin yung lighting condition na to at 6 p.m. is ganun din yung kalalabasan ng mga shadow casts and light cast niya. So ito yung diagram niya. Ayan, so we were able to replicate the shot. For this one, another funny thing was that we just used a flash gun for this one. Okay, flash gun lang yung ginamit namin. We didn't even have a boom stand. Sorry, may boom stand dyan. But we didn't have a boom stand. Si Neil worked his MacGyver thing. So ginawa niya, dinactate lang niya yung ilaw somewhere doon sa veranda to match kung saan yung placement ng araw at that time ng 3:30 or 4 para ma-replicate namin yung ilaw na yan. So there you have it, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and please stay home, guys. Please stay home. I'll be continuing to pray for you and your family, and this too shall pass. God bless.